It is quite literally the foundational material of modern civilization, concrete. In foundations for power stations like this, in bridges, roads, buildings and railways like HS2, it is the very skeleton of Britain's physical economy. So much so that we sometimes take it for granted. But concrete and its crucial ingredient cement are now at the heart of a very big issue indeed. Now, when you think about net zero, what probably comes to mind are cars, planes, power stations, but arguably what's happening in cement plants like this in this country and around the world is just as, if not more important, for the future of the planet.
What we do here is we take chalk and clay and we introduce it to this rotary kiln that you can see behind you, where it's heated to 1,500 degrees centigrade and converted into cement. We are changing the formulation of concrete to a much lower carbon recipe using lots of alternative materials.
That matters because cement production accounts for about 7% of global CO2 emissions. That's even bigger than all aviation and deforestation combined. And here's the key thing. Cement emissions come from two sources. First, the energy used to heat the kilns, but even more so, the chemical reaction going on inside that rotating tube. This plant uses renewable fuels, essentially processed rubbish for the energy bit, but that still leaves the chemical reaction. One option is to try to capture those emissions and put them back underground, but that won't happen without intervention.
Cement it's a commodity industry. The margins aren't big, so you can't expect companies to do this out of the goodness of their hearts. So it's got to be regulated and it's got to be fair. So, ideally, we should set a timetable for decarbonising cement across the whole of Europe.
Or how about getting rid of concrete altogether? Not an option.
The idea that we could wean ourselves off concrete in any kind of time frame, I think isn't realistic, actually, given the amount of development that's going on, the amount of building that's happening globally. So we have to tackle the root cause, which is to look at decarbonising the cement.
Every system will be can be mixed for roughly the same amount of time.
But might the answer lie here in these test tubes at the University of Sheffield?
And that's the zero CO2 system.
That's right, that cement in the test tube on the right was made without any of the direct carbon emissions caused by traditional cement manufacture. It's just as strong in most applications and maybe even more resilient, leaving one question. Can we just replace traditional cement with this stuff?
The short answer is no. And that's because one of the biggest challenges that we have with these materials, with any replacement for Portland cement, is to be able to produce it on a scale that can meet the demand for cement and concrete. And so to be able to produce an alternative material at the same scale is very, very challenging.
All of which is why concrete, boring, lifeless concrete, is fast becoming the most exciting, dynamic field in climate science. Unless we solve these problems, net zero will remain a pipe dream. Ed Conway, Sky News.